Seahawks win in overtime.
He's got him! He's got him! Tyreek Hill! Fournette! Touchdown!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show, episode 7 of Off the Bench podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you're all having a great day. We do have a very special guest today on the show, my grandfather, Mr. Julian. Welcome, and thank you for coming on to the podcast. Glad to have you on. If you have any questions, I will answer them at the end of each episode. Make sure to send them in to either the Instagram at Off the Bench Podcast, comment them on our YouTube channel, Off the Bench Podcast, or email them to offthebenchpodcast34@gmail.com. All right, let's look at the previous week's games. We had the Seahawks and the 49ers on Thursday night. Pretty close game all throughout. The 49ers pulled out in the end, 21-13. From what I saw, I thought Brock Purdy, he played pretty good.
Well, this could be the beginning for the 49ers. They have a chance of being the number 1 seed. Right now it's the Eagles, but with the injury to Jalen Hurt, this could move the 49ers up. But the 49ers do have a difficult schedule the rest of the way.
They do, yeah. If Purdy keeps playing like this, I think they do have a real shot at the 1 seed. And with Christian McCaffrey playing like how he has been, he put up 108 yards and a touchdown with 30 receiving yards. On Seattle's end, Geno didn't play too bad, 238 yards and a touchdown. But Tyler Lockett, one of their big receivers, broken finger, so he'll miss a few games. That's a big loss for their receiving core. And the 49ers defense, they've been playing good all year. 3 sacks and fumble recovery this game. And with this win, they extend their winning streak to 7, and they clinch the NFC West, so they're already in the playoffs.
The Seahawks are just a half a game out of the final playoff spot, so they have something to play for the rest of the season.
For sure. All right, we had 3 games Saturday. First one of the craziest games you'll ever watch. Colts at the Vikings. Colts up 33-0 at halftime. Blow the game. Vikings win 39-36 in overtime. Largest blown lead in NFL history, and at the helm of Matt Ryan. Not really a surprise. 22 points for the Vikings in the fourth quarter. And then for the Colts, Jonathan Taylor left the game with an ankle injury. That may have contributed to that.
It looks like he's going to be out for the rest of the season. It also appears that this past weekend you might consider fantastic finishes. Some incredible finishes throughout Saturday's games and Sunday's games.
For sure. That was very notable. Kirk Cousins had a good game, 460 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. And then the 2 leading receivers for Minnesota, KJ Osborne with 10 catches, 157 yards and a touchdown. And of course, Justin Jefferson, who's been putting up these numbers all year, 12 catches, 123 yards and a touchdown. He's not too far off from 2,000-yard mark. That'd be the most in a season.
I think the Colts are in for a coaching change. Jeff Saturday was just the interim coach. I don't see him staying on as the permanent coach. And a whole change needs to be made for the Colts. They're just not ready to play.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think Saturday was an all-right temporary addition, but I don't think he's the right answer long-term. The next Saturday game, Ravens at the Browns. Not really an exciting one, low-scoring. Browns win 13-3. Deshaun Watson played better than he has in his first couple games, 161 yards and a touchdown. Nick Chubb nearly broke 100 yards. And on Baltimore's end, J.K. Dobbins had a pretty good game, 125 rushing yards. And you could really see they're struggling without Lamar. Tyler Huntley's 138 yards and a pick. And now they move to second place in the AFC North.
If you look at momentum, the Ravens do not have it.
Right.
They have negative momentum.
Yes.
They're headed the wrong way as they head towards the playoffs.
I agree. And for the Browns, they still have a chance, but very slim for them to make the playoffs. All right, then we had the Dolphins at the Bills on Saturday night. Close game, came right down to the end. The Bills win 32-29, hit a game-winning field goal. Snowballs were thrown throughout the game. Fans probably had a great time. Josh Allen had a great time, 340 yards, 4 touchdowns, and led the team with 77 rushing yards. He's pretty much their whole offense we've seen from that.
This is not relevant to the game, but for whatever reason, whenever the Bills wear their red uniforms, they don't play too well.
Really? Well, that's an interesting statistic. We'll have to look out to see if they wear those in any other games. Then on the Dolphins side, Tua played pretty good, 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. Both of them, one to Tyreek Hill and one to Jalen Waddle, who are really the only guys catching his balls. Raheem Mostert had a solid game on the ground, 136 rushing yards. And with that win, the Bills do clinch a playoff spot but they have not clinched the division yet. It's still up for grabs. Move on to Sunday, the Eagles at the Bears. Eagles win 25-20. They also clinch a playoff spot. Jalen Hurts was playing great, 315 yards. He threw 2 picks, but also ran for 3 touchdowns. And he got that shoulder injury.
He's listed at this point as questionable for Sunday's game.
Mm-hmm. A.J. Brown had a great game, 9 catches, 181 yards. Devontae Smith, 5 catches, 126 yards. The two of them combined for 307 receiving yards out of Jalen Hurts' 315 passing. That's very impressive. Justin Fields threw for 152 and 2 touchdowns, along with 95 rushing yards. David Montgomery, a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. It's the 5th straight win for the Eagles and the 7th straight loss for Chicago, who I think now are just playing for a good draft pick. Then NFC South divisional game, Falcons at the Saints. Saints win 21-18. The Red Rocket, Andy Dalton, 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then Taysom Hill, very valuable player to them, also threw for 80 passing yards and a touchdown. Juwan Johnson caught 2 of those touchdowns. Then Desmond Ridder starting for the Falcons. Only 97 passing yards and 38 rushing yards, but I think he can only go up from there. Tyler Algier, 139 rushing yards and touchdown. Cordell Patterson scored another one. But both of these teams now are a game behind Tampa in that division.
Just one word summarizes this game. B-O-R-I-N-G. Boring.
Yeah. Moving on, Lions at the Jets. As a Jets fan, this is a heartbreaker. Lions win 20-17. Zerline misses the game-tying field goal from 58 yards out. The Lions win their 6 games, 7 games. They're red hot. Jared Goff, 252 yards and a touchdown, and that one was the go-ahead 51-yarder with 1:49 left. Zach Wilson, in his first game back after his absence, 317 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. But the Jets, as a total on offense, only 50 rushing yards. That was not a good stat for them. This may be I was going to say this may be the last time we see Zach Wilson in a Jets uniform, but he is going to be starting this Thursday with Mike White not being cleared yet.
As of today, Mike White has not been cleared, and Wilson will be the starter again on Thursday night.
It's going to be interesting to see a big game for both the Jets and the Jaguars that Thursday.
In this game, I believe that Dan Campbell outcoached Robert Saleh.
I do agree. I didn't like Saleh at the end of the game. They had 3 timeouts, but I think it was poor clock management. Definitely could have used one on that last drive, but that's just me. I don't know. All right, Steelers at the Panthers. A nice win for the Steelers, 24-16. Without Kenny Pickett, Trubisky throws for 179 and ran in a touchdown. Same with Najee Harris. Deontay Johnson, leading receiver, with 98 receiving yards. Sam Darnold, in his 3 games so far with the Panthers, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He's not playing bad, but he's got to step it up if they want to have a shot at the division. The Panthers also 21 rushing yards as a team, which is not what you want to be doing.
The Steelers have not had a losing record in a number of years, and they still have a chance to finish above 500.
They do.
It's going to take them running the table,
Yeah.
but they can still do it.
Yeah, and that's all under Mike Tomlin, who's a great coach in this league. Cowboys at the Jaguars. A comeback win from the Jaguars. They win 40-34 in overtime on a game-winning 52-yard pick 6. Trevor Lawrence has started to emerge, looking like the real good number 1 overall pick. That's why they took him at 1. 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Zay Jones caught 3 of those touchdowns. Very great game from him. ETN with 103 yards on the ground. Dak, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. CeeDee Lamb, leading receiver, with 126 yards. Zeke punches in a touchdown. And now the Jaguars are a game behind Tennessee. That division, that's going to be a battle between those two.
The Cowboys came in way overconfident, and they were surprised by the Jaguars, who played well and are continuing to play well.
And I said this last week. I saw it on Skip and Shannon. Skip was talking about, maybe it was an excuse, but that Cowboys have their eyes on the Eagles game on Christmas Eve. But I don't know. Yeah, the Cowboys didn't come ready to play, I don't think. Then the Chiefs and the Texans. Chiefs win another close one, 30-24 in overtime. Mahomes, 336 yards, 2 touchdowns, along with a rushing touchdown. Jerick McKinnon stepped up as the running back, who had 70 receiving yards and a touchdown, along with the game-winning 52-yard rushing touchdown. Kelsey with 10 receptions, 105 yards. And then on the other hand, Davis Mills pretty good game from him by his standards, 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the Chiefs clinched their division for the 7th straight year.
In the overtime, the announcing crew said, whatever you do, hold on to the ball. Mills fumbled.
Yeah.
Chiefs recovered, scored on the first play.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you got to do against those Chiefs. Then Cardinals at the Broncos. Both teams without their starting quarterbacks. Broncos win 24-15. Ripon with 197 yards and a touchdown and a pick for the Broncos. Latavius Murray on the ground, 130 yards and a touchdown. Judy with 76 receiving yards. For the Cardinals, Colt McCoy, he left that game in the third quarter with a concussion. So third stringer, Tracy McSorley, comes in, throws for 95 yards and 2 picks. Not great for him. It's the 4th straight loss for the Cardinals, but the Broncos end their 5-game losing streak. Then we had the Patriots at the Raiders. What a crazy ending to that game. Raiders win 30-24. Chandler Jones with the game-winning touchdown against his former team. I'm happy for him. Derek Carr, 231 yards and 3 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, 93 yards on the ground. Mac Jones, he's 112 passing yards. I think he could have done a lot better, but I think Matt Patricia might be holding him back from reaching his full potential. And as of right now, the Patriots, they're knocked out of the wild card, but they still have a chance to make it in.
Whoever called the last play of the game for the Patriots should be fired. That should have just been a kneel down, go into overtime, and take your chances. Mm-hmm. Also, a shout out to Chandler Jones, a UE graduate, who scored the winning touchdown.
Yeah, congrats to Chandler. That was an awesome moment for him. Then we had the Titans at the Chargers. Another exciting ending to this one. Chargers win 17-14. Drive all the way down with 40 seconds left to hit a game-winning field goal. Herbert had 313 yards, also 2 interceptions. Eckler with a touchdown on the ground. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams really helping Herbert out now. They've been injured for most of the year. But when they both play, the Chargers do play good. Tannehill had 165 yards and a pick. He did go down for a little bit in the game, but I believe he did come back. Derrick Henry continues to play great. 104 yards and a touchdown, and he was also the leading receiver, 4 catches, 59 yards. And the Titans are barely hanging on to the division, while the Chargers are still in the wild card picture.
It's pretty obvious to me if the Titans can't successfully run the ball, they can't pass either.
Right. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if it's time for a QB change in Tennessee, but we'll see what happens after this year. And then the Bengals and the Buccaneers. We were watching this game. The Bengals win this one 34-23. Outscored Tampa Bay 31-6 in the second half. Tampa just folded. Burrow throws for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, 7 receptions, 60 yards and a touchdown. T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd both caught a touchdown. Then Tom Brady, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Both of those were very costly. And then Russell Gage caught 2 of those touchdowns as the Bengals move to first place in the North, and the Bucs are only 1 game ahead of the 3 teams in the South.
The Bengals came from 17 points down in that game and scored, as was mentioned, several unanswered points.
Yes.
The Bengals are playing now like they did at the end of last season. And I think they're looking forward for 2 weeks to match up with the Bills.
That will be an exciting one for sure. And then the Sunday night game, the Giants at the Commanders. Giants win this one 20-12. Daniel Jones, 160 passing yards and 35 rushing yards. Saquon punches in a touchdown along with 87 rushing yards. Taylor Heineke throws for 249 yards and a touchdown. Jahan Dotson, leading receiver, with 105 yards and that touchdown. And both teams still remain in the wild card picture.
At the end of that game, there was an illegal formation called on the Commanders. They had 3rd and 6 from the 6-yard line, pass into the end zone, obvious pass interference, not called. Giants win.
Yeah. And then the Monday night game last night, Rams at the Packers. The Packers win this 24-12. Aaron Rodgers threw for 229 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. A.J. Dillon scored 2 rushing touchdowns. Baker Mayfield, not an impressive performance, 111 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick. I think the Baker Mayfield hype is over. It was a one-hit wonder. I don't know where he goes from here, honestly. All right, so that wraps up the previous week's games. We'll look at the top fantasy performers. In the quarterback area, Josh Allen leads them with 35.86 PPR points, followed by Jalen Hurts, 34.7. Patrick Mahomes, 32.74, and Kirk Cousins, 32.4. And then in the running backs, I believe the leader for the second straight week, Jerick McKinnon, 34.2, Dalvin Cook with 27, Derrick Henry with 26.3, CMC with 25.8, Ramondre Stevenson with 24.8, and David Montgomery with 24.1. And then in the wide receiver category, you had Zay Jones of the Jaguars with 34.9. Then the two of the Vikings receivers, KJ Osborne, 31.7, Justin Jefferson, 30.3, AJ Brown, 27.1. That was all without a touchdown. And then Russell Gage, 25.9 of the Buccaneers. Moving on to the tight ends, George Kittle with 25.3, Juwan Johnson of the Saints caught 2 touchdowns, 22.7, Dawson Knox, 21.8, Travis Kelce, he's been up here all year, 20.5, and then CJ Uzama for the Jets, who caught 2 touchdowns, 18.1. Defenses and special teams, surprisingly, the Colts had 18, the Giants had 15, along with the Browns with 15, and then the Lions and Packers both have 13. And then on to the kickers, Chase McLaughlin for the Colts, 21.0, Matt Prater for the Cardinals, 14, and Nick Folk for the Patriots, 13. Move on to the news and the predictions. Obviously, we mentioned Jalen Hurts sprained throwing shoulder. I don't think he's going to play this Saturday against the Cowboys, which that's a huge loss for Philly, as they're looking to finish off their season strong. I don't know how much time he's going to miss if he doesn't play this game. I mean, they already clinched a playoff spot. Does it make sense for them to sit him out maybe for the rest of the year?
It would seem to be, in my opinion, that would make the most sense.
Because you don't want to risk another injury with him. Because he was the MVP frontrunner before that. Now, who knows what's going to happen? And as you mentioned before, Jonathan Taylor, he's pretty much out for the year. I think I don't know if they already have, but they do plan to place him on IR. He suffered that injury against the Vikings. The Colts, they weren't expected to make the playoffs. I don't know what the Colts, their situation is really an interesting one, because they came into this year, right? They got Matt Ryan. They've had a bunch of quarterbacks ever since Andrew Luck's retirement. They just can't figure it out.
I think Matt Ryan is washed up.
I do too. I think, I don't know what they do with him after this year. Do they trade him again and get their 4th quarterback in 4 years?
It's appearing that that's going to happen.
That might happen. Also, Zach Wilson will start Thursday against the Jags, as Mike White has not been cleared by doctors to play. And I said it last week, and I'll repeat again this week. I think this is Zach Wilson's last chance with the Jets. Or do they trade him? I don't know what they'd really do with him. I don't know if any team see any value in him.
Somebody will take him.
Someone will take him. I mean, the Panthers took Darnold. So someone will take Zach. I hope so. Then Tyler Lockett, broken finger. He's looking to return for Week 17. It's a big loss for the Seahawks, as they're trying to make it into the wild card. But that does mean, from a fantasy perspective, DK Metcalf and Marquise Goodwin will get a lot more targets from Geno Smith. And then also for the Eagles, they did activate Dallas Goedert off of the IR, which is a huge thing for them, bringing him back on the field. Another great pass catcher. You could argue he's one of the best tight ends in the league, maybe.
He could be. He's certainly in the top 5.
Yes, I will agree with that. And it will help Gardner Minshew in this game with Dallas, giving him another target.
Although I don't think they'll do a lot of passing. I think they'll just try to stick to the run mostly.
Yeah. All right, here's our first prediction. We were talking about the AFC South before. I think the Jags could maybe run the table and win the division. What do you think?
I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I think there's going to be a big surprise in Thursday night's game, and we'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah. They are 1 game behind Tennessee, who is on a 4-game losing streak. The Jags are playing great right now, same with Trevor Lawrence. But they do play each other in Week 18, so that will be a huge game for that division. And then another prediction, I think, for the Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think the Jets could sweep the awards. Sauce Gardner, he's been the front runner all year, and then for offensive, it's really tricky because there's a lot of great rookies. You got Garrett Wilson, obviously, Kenneth Walker for the Seahawks, Christian Watson for the Packers. I don't know who else really. I can't really think of anyone else.
I think Christian Watson came on a little bit too late, so I don't think he's going to be in the running. Mm-hmm. But I like Kenneth Walker of the Seahawks.
He's a really good player. All right, now we'll move on. Predictions for Week 16. We have the Jags.
I have one prediction that's going to underlying everything.
Sure.
And that's going to be the weather. I think the weather is going to have an effect on many of the games this weekend.
Right. So talking about Thursday's game, it's either going to rain or snow at MetLife. That's what the forecast is saying. So that would be interesting for both teams. Jaguars at the Jets. The Jags are coming off a big win versus the Cowboys. The Jets started off pretty good. They've been struggling recently. I like the Jags in this one.
I like the Jets.
Do you?
I see the Jets defense prevailing, getting frustrated for Trevor Lawrence. I see the Jets in an upset.
I think the only way the Jets win is because of their defense, and they need Quinnen Williams to play. All right, then we have 11 games on Christmas Eve, which is Saturday. First one, Bills at the Bears. You have Josh Allen, who's been playing like an MVP. Justin Fields going up against the Bills defense. I think he'll be running for his life, and I don't think the Bears defense stands a chance against the high-powered Buffalo offense. I like the Bills.
I like the Bills as well. I don't see Josh Allen playing the entire game, but the Bills will prevail in this game.
Then we have the Saints at the Browns. Deshaun Watson finally getting back in full swing of things. I think this game will be low scoring between these two teams. I do like the Browns at home, though. I'll take the Browns in this one. And then Texans at the Titans. This is where it gets interesting. Because the Texans, their past two games, they've been close. Lost a close one to Dallas, and then lost in overtime to Kansas City. The Titans are on a 4-game losing streak. Vegas does have the Titans as 5-point favorites. It is also a big game regarding the division for Tennessee. I think the Texans can pull off the upset.
I think Tennessee will prevail in this game. It's going to be close,
yeah,
but I think the running game will come back.
Yes, Derrick Henry will have to have a big game. Then Seahawks at the Chiefs. The Chiefs clinch their division. They're eyeing first place in the AFC, trailing only Buffalo. And Seattle's still fighting for a wild card spot. They don't have Tyler Lockett. Mahomes right now is very close to being the front runner for MVP. I like the Chiefs at home.
I like the Chiefs as well. I think it'll be close, but I give the edge to the Chiefs due to the home field advantage.
Yes, playing at Arrowhead is a great advantage for Kansas City. The Giants at the Vikings. I think this game will be interesting too. Both teams coming off good wins. Vikings 3.5-point favorites, but I don't know. I don't see the Giants defense doing much against the Vikings. They have a great offense on the run game and the passing game.
I see this game as a blowout win by the Vikings.
The Vikings. Blowout, really? Okay. That'd be interesting. That's going to be interesting to watch. Then the Bengals at the Patriots. Patriots obviously had that bad ending against the Raiders. They don't want to remember that. They were wiping that from their memories. The Bengals they're on fire, 6 straight wins. The Patriots are just outside of the wild card, and I like the Bengals. I think their wide receivers, 3 great wide receivers, Chase, Higgins, and Boyd. I think they could all have pretty good games.
I think the Patriots are overrated. I think Matt Patricia has not done a good job. I see the Bengals winning this one.
Yeah. Then Lions at the Panthers. Big games for both teams. Lions are hot, 6 out of 7 games. The Panthers, after moving on with Baker Mayfield, they haven't looked bad with Sam Darnold. As I mentioned before, hasn't thrown a pick in his first 3 starts with them, which by Sam Darnold, that's impressive for him. But I do like the Lions. Dan Campbell, I love him. I like the Lions.
I see the Lions in this as well.
Then Falcons at the Ravens. Lamar is questionable to play. Who knows if he will. But Desmond Ridder will still start for Atlanta. They're both of these teams coming off of losses to their divisional opponents. I think the Baltimore defense will really have Desmond Ridder struggle in this one.
I give the edge to the Ravens due to their kicking game.
Justin Tucker, greatest kicker of all time. Then Commanders at the 49ers. Debo is still out for the Niners. Heineke is still the starter. That's Ron Rivera recently said that over Carson Wentz. I like the 49ers. I like them a lot. I like them to win this game.
I would go for the 49ers as well, but I think it'll be closer than what most people think.
Then the big game Saturday, Eagles at the Cowboys. Could be the biggest game of the year so far. Maybe. I don't know. Jalen Hurts, as we mentioned, not expected to play. That means Gardner Minshew, the one-hit wonder in Jacksonville, who had I believe in his career record as a starter, 8 wins and 14 losses, which it's not terrible. But he does have a lot of weapons on the offensive end that could really elevate his game. But I do like the Cowboys in this, and I think if they're going to win this game, it's going to be because of their defense.
I would go for the Cowboys. I think it will be close, but I think the Cowboys will prevail.
Yeah. And then the last game for Saturday, the Raiders at the Steelers. Kenny Pickett is questionable to play. Still has to clear concussion protocol. The Raiders are coming off of that miracle win. I think this game will also be close, but I think the Steelers' defense should be able to hold up the Raiders. I like the Steelers.
I like the Steelers 21-17.
We'll see how that pans out. And then Sunday, 3 games on Christmas Day. The first one, Packers at the Dolphins. With that win last night, the Packers still have a chance at the playoffs. Only 12%, but it's better than 0. Or, I guess, 1. The Dolphins are coming off of that close loss to Buffalo. A few controversial no calls in that game. But they do still have a chance to win the AFC East. They do need to win out. I do like the Dolphins in this one, though.
I like the Packers. I see Rodgers connecting better with his rookie receivers.
Yes. Romeo Doubs did have a pretty good game coming back off of from his injury last night. And then Broncos at the Rams. Russell Wilson, again, he's questionable to play after suffering that concussion. The Broncos defense really won them the last game. The Rams, we saw last night, did not look good against Green Bay. I like the Broncos.
I put this game in the category, who cares? This could end up in a tie.
Really? I mean, this game, really no significance for either teams. They're both out of the playoffs. They both don't have their first-round draft picks. I guess, this is a meaningless game for Christmas Day. And then Sunday night, the Bucs at the Cardinals. Bucs obviously coming off that tough loss versus the Bengals. The Cardinals are out of the playoffs. Colt McCoy is questionable to play. And the Bucs, they need this win to really hold on to that division. I like the Bucs on the road.
I think this will be closer than what people think, but I like the Bucs as well.
And then Monday night, Chargers at the Colts. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor's out for the year. They have the Chargers favored by 4 on the road. And as we've seen, Justin Herbert really thrives with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I like the Chargers. All right, then for picks of the week, you tell me. All right, so first one, I like the Bills -9 at the Bears. Then second one, Lions -2.5 versus the Panthers. And then the third one is Dolphins -4 versus the Packers. But again, that game couldn't be close.
Well, I see, as I mentioned before, I see the Jets upsetting the Jaguars. Mm-hmm. I would agree with you on the Bills and the Bears. Mm-hmm. And I think the Seahawks and the Chiefs will be close. And I don't think the Chiefs will be able to cover.
Yeah. I don't remember really what they had Kansas City favored by in that game. I believe it might have been 7.5, somewhere in that range. I don't know. 7.5 is a lot of points against that. Oh, not 9.5. Just check right now. The Chiefs favored by 9.5. I don't think they can cover. All right, now we have 2 questions to answer. First one, I'll let you answer these first. Do you think Tom Brady will play next season? And if so, for what team?
I don't think he'll play next season. I think he'll move into the broadcasting booth.
He does have that big contract. Did he accept it, or is it just an offer? I think
he's accepted.
He's accepted whenever he's done playing. A lot of money for him. I think he might. I don't know. 'Cause he did his fake retirement this year. I think he'll play one more year because I don't think you want to end your career with a not a great season like this one. But I don't think he's going to play for the Bucs. There's 2 realistic destinations, I think, that would fit greatly for him. The first one being the Raiders. I think before he went to Tampa, the Raiders did offer him. John Gruden wanted him, but I don't know why he didn't want to go to Vegas. But now he has Devontae Adams to throw to. Josh Jacobs is emerging as a great running back. Really great offense for him there. And the other team, I think, would be the 49ers, who are more complete as a whole. But the only thing with that is Kyle Shanahan, he has his whole system there working, but he'll have to work it around Brady, which I don't think he wants to do. I don't think it's worth all that. That's the only con with that.
Again, I don't see him coming back, but if he does come back, I see him going to the Raiders, especially with Josh McDaniels coach.
Right, that was his quarterback coach in New England. Then who has the best uniforms in the NFL?
Well, I have 2 favorites.
Okay.
I like the Chiefs when they're at home. I like their red uniforms.
Reds, those are nice.
And I like the traditional Green Bay Packers. They're green and gold.
Green and gold. I do have a few. You see on the back wall there, the Jets green. Also, the Bengals white, but with their white helmet, that really elevates the uniform. The Seahawks neon green, I believe they wore it on Thursday against the 49ers. The Chargers baby blue, those are pretty cool. And then I love the Eagles black on black. Those are cool. Those would be scary if you're playing against them. But if I had to pick one, I don't know. The Jets green, being a Jets fan, I love the green. But also the Bengals, coming from Union Endicott, the orange and black. I've always loved orange and black. So I'd have to be those two as my favorites. All right, and that wraps up the episode.
I'd like to say thank you for inviting me as a guest, and I wish all of Off the Bench listeners happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. And remember, if you have any questions, DM them to the Instagram, comment them on the YouTube, or email them to offthebenchpodcast34@gmail.com. Thank you to everyone who's listening in. Thank you for coming on to the show. It was great having you on here. And for next episode, we will have 2 guests, so that will be very exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Thanks again. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and happy holidays.